Okay. Okay, so did that sound good? Everything sounds okay? Okay. All right, so we're going to continue moving on. So now we're kind of at her present level. So this is where she's at now. We've talked about her previous and how she was doing then. So this is going to be her actual present levels, and we're going to go over the testing that we completed for her. So the summary of her cognitive, it was addressed using the WISC, and she demonstrated a pattern of performance characterized by weaknesses in language-based reasoning and working memory. She had a relative strength in processing speed. The subtest measuring verbal comprehension, that just kind of assesses the ability to understand and express language-based concepts. She obtained a scaled score of 4 on similarities and a scaled score of 6 on vocabulary. So that indicated that she was having difficulty with verbal reasoning and knowledge. In the area of fluid reasoning, that just affects like reflexibility for her to identify patterns and solve problems. She earned a scaled score of 6 on matrix reasoning and a scaled score of 7 on figure eights. This just basically suggests that it's in the low average range for these. These tasks would kind of require her to have like nonverbal reasoning. In contrast, her processing speed, which measures the ability to quickly and accurately scan and respond to visual information, it was a relative strength for her. Riley-Jo earned a scale score of 9 on coding and a scale score of 10 on simple search. It indicated that her performance was within the average range. So she did good on processing speed, but she kind of struggled with the visual side of it. Overall, her cognitive profile reflects a pattern of strengths, pattern of weaknesses in language-based processing and working memory, but her processing speed was intact. It's not consistent, but instead it suggests that there might be a specific processing weakness. Okay, so now we're at the phonological processing portion of it, and it was assessed using the CTOP. So I know that there were areas of concern with dyslexia. So this test, it will break all that down and kind of give us more data on that area of concern. And so it just measures the ability to process and manipulate the sounds and the sound structure of the language as well. Riley-Jo obtained a scale score of 5 on forming new words, things like that, on blending words, which requires her to combine individual sounds to form words. She obtained a scale score of 6 on phoneme isolation, which requires her to identify individual sounds within the words. She obtained a scale score of 5. So these results indicate that she does have a significant weakness in phonological awareness. For phonological memory, that's just the ability to temporarily store the phonological information that she's learned. For memory for digits, which requires her repeating the sentences repeating the sequences of numbers, she obtained a scaled score of 4. On non-word repetition, which requires repeating of nonsense words, which are just words that don't make sense, she showed significant difficulty as well. So overall, it indicated that she had a significant difficulty with phonological memory. Rapid naming, it's just the ability for her to quickly retrieve and produce familiar words, verbal labels, things like that. On rapid digit naming, she obtained a scale score of 8. And on rapid letter naming, she obtained a scale score of 9. Both were within the average range. So this indicates that her speed of retrieval is actually a relative strength for her. So overall, on the CTOP, it includes a pattern of significant deficits in phonological awareness and phonological memory. She did have a relative strength in rapid naming. The pattern strongly is associated with dyslexia, and it impacts the development of her accurate word reading and spelling skills. Did you have any questions about that?
Mm-hmm. No. I knew it was something besides ADHD, since the doctor said that she wasn't in that criteria of it. I mean, my older 2 kids, if they have dyslexia, it's probably generic on the line for her to have it too.
Yeah. So that kind of goes along with you having those concerns, and then, so now we kind of see that there is something there, obviously. So we're at the educational portion of it, where it's basically her academic achievement. So these are her present levels. So it was using the Wyatt-4, and it was used to determine her current level of functioning in relation to her grade level expectations. In the areas of reading, Riley Joe demonstrates significant difficulty in both foundational reading skills and higher level comprehension. On the word reading subtest of the Wyatt-4, that measures how she accurately reads printed words. She obtained a standard score of 79, which is in the 8th percentile. It indicated that she had very low performance on that area. With this finding, it suggests that she has difficulty with automatic word recognition and decoding. On the oral reading fluency subtest, which measures her ability to read in connected text accurately and at an appropriate rate, she obtained a standard score of 85, which is in the 18th percentile, which indicated a low average performance. On the analysis of her reading accuracy, it indicated a high rate of errors, which performance failing at or below the 5th percentile reflects significant difficulty. So that's just basically what that's saying, is that in the area of reading, she did have a significant difficulty, which goes along with everything else we've seen. So these weaknesses are further reflected in her performance on the spring 2026 STAR Interim Grade 4 reading assessment. It was administered in March of this year. She obtained a scale score of 1204 and was predicted to perform at the did not meet grade level standard. So that's basically a prediction of where she would be on her STAR when she takes it in April. So at the time, it predicted that she would be at did not meet. Item level analysis indicates that she was having difficulty across multiple TEKs, such as aligned reading skills, including identifying the author's purpose, summarizing text, and analyzing plot elements, and using text evidence to support her responses. She demonstrated limited success on tasks requiring inferencing, integration of information, and comprehension of both literacy and informational text. All of this together, the results indicate that her comprehension difficulties are closely linked to her underlying weaknesses in decoding and word reading, which would interfere with her ability to access and understand grade level text. So those were some of your other concerns as well, and why you wanted that referral for some extra testing. In the areas of written expression, Riley Joe demonstrated significant deficits in both transcription and composition skills. On the Wyatt-4 spelling subtest, which assessed her ability to encode words using phonetic and orthographic patterns, she obtained a standard score of 78, which indicated very low for her age. On the sentence composition subtest, which measured her ability to generate and combine sentences using appropriate grammar and structure, she obtained a standard score of 75, also within the very low range. These findings are consistent with her performance on her STAR Interim reading assessment, where she demonstrated significant difficulty with writing tasks, including revising drafts, organizing ideas, and applying standard English conventions such as grammar and sentence structure. These results indicate that her written expression skills are below grade level expectation and are impacting her underlying language processing and spelling weaknesses. Okay, so now we're going to move to the area of mathematics. Riley Joe's performance is variable in the area of mathematics. She did have relative strengths in basic calculation and visual or concrete tasks. Weaknesses were in problem solving. But if you think about that, that's going to be word problems, and it falls back to her dyslexia. Or if she ends up eligible for that, it would fall back with all the things that we've been seeing as far as her reading and everything being low. So you would kind of expect to see that low for her when she's having to read those word problems. On the Wyatt-4 math problem solving test, which requires her understanding and solving verbally presented math problems, she obtained a standard score of 77, which indicated very low performance. On the numerical operations subtest, which measures the calculation skills, she obtained a standard score of 87, which is indicating low performance as well. So overall, just the math calculation and the math problem solving, she did show areas of concern a little bit. The pattern is consistent with her performance on the spring 2026 STAR interim grade for mathematics assessment, which was administered in February of this year. She obtained a scale score of 1462 and was predicted to perform at the approaches grade level, which that's not ideally where you want to be, but technically that's considered passing in the state of Texas if she were to be at approaches. So you would ideally like to see her score higher than that, but it's still not bad per se. She demonstrated strengths in areas such as geometry, measurement, and data representation, including correctly solving problems related to area and perimeter and interpreting data displays. However, she demonstrated difficulty with computation and algebraic reasoning tasks, particularly those requiring multi-step problem solving, understanding of fractions and place value relationships, as well as application of operations in more complex text. So you're going to see also she's going to have numbers, letters, things like that. That's obviously probably going to be a struggle for her, but you would expect that based on everything that we've read so far. Do you have any questions so far? That's a lot to take in, right? Okay. So we're just kind of at her patterns of strengths and weaknesses. This is her eligibility determination. She is going to qualify, or we are recommending, that she qualifies with a specific learning disability. We talked about that she's not ADHD. So the doctor has recommended that she no longer qualifies with that, correct? Yes. So we will take her OHI off of her eligibilities due to her not qualifying anymore with ADHD. So we're just going to kind of go over the dyslexia portion and how that relates to her. And there's certain criteria that she has to meet and that's considered for her. And we're going to kind of go over those, and then it's up to the ARD committee. Mm-hmm. Okay, so she, based on the Texas Dyslexia Handbook, the following criteria were considered in determining the presence of dyslexia. She demonstrates difficulty with accurate and or fluent reading and spelling. This was evidenced by very low performance on the WIAT-4. It was for her spelling subtest and reading subtest, as well as significant difficulty with reading accuracy as indicated by an elevated error rate during her oral reading task. Mm-hmm. That was the first one. She also demonstrates characteristics of dyslexia, including deficits in phonological awareness and phonological memory as measured by the CTOP-2. She performed in the very low range, and blending words, phoneme isolation, memory for digits, non-word repetition, all of those were low for her. The results indicated a significant deficit for her in phonological components. These difficulties are unexpected in relation to Riley-Joe's other cognitive abilities and the provision of appropriate instruction. Her cognitive profile reflects average processing speed and relative strengths in rapid naming, indicating that her academic difficulties are not the result of a global cognitive delay. So basically that's saying cognitively, it's great. So this would be unexpected for her because she did well in other areas. Mm-hmm. So basically it's just saying this would be unexpected, which would kind of explain why you would see those characteristics, why dyslexia may be an issue. Additionally, exclusionary factors such as lack of appropriate instruction, limited English proficiency, visual or hearing impairment, emotional disturbance, and intellectual disability were considered, and they were all ruled out. So based on the comprehensive evaluation, Riley-Joe meets criteria for dyslexia as defined by the Texas Dyslexia Handbook, and dyslexia is now considered a specific learning disability under IDEA. Therefore, these findings were also considered within the framework for determining eligibility for an SLD. She demonstrates a specific learning disability in the areas of basic reading and written expression. This determination is supported by significant academic deficits in word reading, decoding, spelling, and written expression, which are likely linked to the underlying cognitive processing weaknesses in phonological processing, verbal comprehension, and working memory. The pattern of strengths and weaknesses observed across cognitive and academic domains is consistent, and it's relevant, and it's indicative that there is a disability. Does that sound okay to you so far? Okay, do you have any questions or anything?
Unless, that's where her bubble of her big long name comes from.
You know,
I
yeah.
try to get her to go small. She's no.
No.
Yeah, she's got to do it big. But you did give her a good name to do that with. And that's funny because my mom, when she named me, she said that she did it because I could have all the loops. And so she was like, you can spell it so pretty. And I was like, if I had better handwriting.
Like, y'all
But-
need to come to the spring spring show and see Riley go, just to see her. She can't help herself, can she, Amanda?
Yeah, she took all
Is
of
she
her
the life of the
songs
party?
and She sings in the shower. She sings in her room. She's outside singing.
Oh, that's
And I told her,
fine.
don't quit her day job.
You know, but they say, I've always heard that kids that sing and they're happy. Like, that's a note, like, that means that they're happy. So,
Well, she's happy in her feet, she dances a little bit. She just can't help herself.
okay, so just to kind of go over the conclusions in the summary, she demonstrates significant deficits in the areas of dyslexia with basic reading skills and written expression, and then she will also qualify for speech impairment if the ARD committee agrees, and that was just for expressive language. Okay, does anybody have any input or any questions? All right. So now we're just over, we got to go over the assurances, or we have to do the goals? Okay. Because we had to add them since she's getting dyslexia.
And,
Are you want to do all three of these? Or just a couple?
I just got them and see what you
These two were
think.
good.
Those two, okay.
This one we're gonna work on anyway.
So she's already in for speech, so her speech therapy goals will stay the same,
Mhm.
since we just made them. And, we'll add new ones with her new eligibility category, that's all it is.
Do you want me to read them or do you want to? Since we added the eligibility of dyslexia, we're gonna add dyslexia goals, and she's the dyslexia person, so I've got her input. But I wanted to come with some proposed goals. Within 36 instructional weeks, give an explicit, systematic, structured literacy instruction in grade level text. Raleigh Jo will accurately decode unfamiliar multi-syllable, she can read better than me by the time she gets through, unfamiliar multi-syllabic words by applying phonics and syllabication patterns, including vowel change, prefixes, suffixes. She'll do this with at least 80% accuracy across 3 consecutive data collection opportunities. So as they're doing their program and she's doing her progress report, when she gets 3 of those in a row with 80% accuracy, then she's getting to master that goal. Then another one would be the spelling goal, which within 36 instructional weeks, given structured literacy instruction, Raleigh Jo will correctly spell grade level words using phonetic and orthographic patterns, including vowel patterns, prefixes, and suffixes with 80% accuracy across 3 consecutive data collection opportunities. Do you grade with a dyslexia rubric for spelling in the program? Okay. All right, so we'll leave it at that. And then they're always working on oral reading fluency and making that better. So those would